Hi guys, this is like a little documentary about the Sinclair computers and basically how they started off and right towards the end of it. And anyway, let's start at the beginning, shall we? On the 25th of July 1961, Clive Sinclair founded his first company. This is purely basic information, not backstory. Sinclair Radionics Limited in Cambridge. Sinclair Radionics developed hi-fi products, radios, calculators, and other scientific instruments. When it became clear that radionics was failing, he took steps to ensure that he would be able to continue to pursue his commercial goals. In February 1975, he changed the name of Ablesdale Limited, an off-the-shelf company he bought in September 1973 for just such an eventuality, to Westminster Mail Order Limited. This was changed to Sinclair Instrument Limited in August 1975. Finding it inconvenient to share control after the National Enterprise Board became involved in radionics in 1976, Sinclair encouraged Chris Curry, who he later on, anyway, we'll move on to that in a minute, uh, who had been working for radionics since 1966, to leave and get Sinclair Instrument up and running. The company's first product was a watch-like wrist calculator, which unfortunately, that the wrist watch calculator had faulty components which that doomed the watch. He also made a television, little pocket television. It was good for its time, but it sold like cold potatoes. The development of the ZX80, the ZX80 system, if anybody doesn't know what ZX80 is, it was one of the first ever computer systems, albeit other kit format, etc. This was like the first system which you see on your screen now, so to speak, a picture. Unfortunately, I do not have a Sinclair ZX80, which is what I would do to have a ZX80. In July 1977, Sinclair Instrument Limited was renamed even, as Science of Cambridge Limited. Around the same time, Ian Williamson showed Chris Curry a prototype microcomputer based around a National Semiconductor SCMP microprocessor, and some parts taken from an earlier Sinclair calculator. Curry was impressed and encouraged Sinclair to adopt this as a product. An agreement was reached with Williamson, but no contract was ever signed. National Semiconductor had offered to redesign the project so that it used only their components, and they also offered to manufacture the boards. In June 1978, Science of Cambridge was launched. The modern computing kit form, marketed as the MK14. In May 1979, Jim Westwood started a project to design a new microcomputer based on the Zilog Z80 microprocessor at Science of Cambridge. This was launched as the ZX80, which is on your screen. In February 1980, in two forms, a kit and a ready-built system. In November of the same year, Science of Cambridge was renamed Sinclair Computers Limited, which also, to note as well, for one of the success in computers. In March 1981, Sinclair Computers was renamed Sinclair Research Limited, and the Sinclair ZX81 was launched, which is this one. Quite small, but really good. You know what I mean? In the day. Plus, you got like your RAM expansion pack on the back there, and that's pretty much about it. Similar to the same principal keys like touchpad. like on the ZX80, which I wish my cousin still had a ZX80 because I'd have that offer. You know what I mean? I'd have that ZX80 in my collection. But anyway, moving on. The commercial success was ZX81 was launched. In February 1982, Timex Corporation obtained a license to manufacture and market Sinclair's computers in the USA under the name Timex Sinclair, which you can see on the screen now, which is like the American version of the Sinclair ZX81. Really, it's no different by looks. The only difference is it's like rebadged. It's like rebadged with like the Timex. So the Timex Sinclair, obviously, which was the American counterpart, was launched in July. They launched the TS1000, obviously the version of the ZX81, in the US. In March 1982, Sinclair made an 8.55 million profit on turnover of £27.17 million, including 383,000 government grants for the flat screen. In 1982, Sinclair converted the Bark and Wadsworth mineral water bottling factory at 25 Willis Road, Cambridge, into the company's new headquarters. It was sold to Cambridgeshire County Council in December 1985 due to. Then in 1982, the Sinclair ZX Spectrum, which was the first ever colour Sinclair computer. It was rubber keys. Unfortunately, I've not got one of them as of yet, but it boasted the first colour system. And just to show you, here's a advert. This is an advert for the Sinclair ZX Spectrum. Then in 1984, Clyde Sinclair released a solid keyboard version of the popular Spectrum, which was, I suppose it was better, but the typing, you know what I mean, the keys were very close. It was a traditional QWERTY keyboard, and you had your TV output, microphone, earphone, which was your tapes. That was your power pack, and the reset switch. This was a 48. This was like the 48K version. Right. Yeah. And they also, it was actually like this version of the Spectrum was like, it was like the hard key version, but it was the same spec as the Sinclair ZX Spectrum, the rubber key version, but they made it into like a more of a hard version, like, so to speak, harder keys. You had little legs that came off at the side like that, see, and that's pretty much about it. They also released a 128K version, which unfortunately I've not got, but hopefully one day I'll get one. And as the abbreviation QL would stand for Quantum Leap. The Sinclair QL was announced on the 12th of January 1984, shortly before the Apple Macintosh actually went on sale. It suffered from several design flaws, and even one of their magazines, Your Sinclair, noted that it was difficult to find a good word for the Sinclair research in computer press, which didn't do any good. Not only that, as well, they had problems fulfilling orders, and people had waited for them, and fully working QLs were not available until late summer. Complaints against Sinclair regarding delays were upheld by the Advertising Standards Authority. In May of the year, in 1982, it had upheld complaints about delays in shipping spectrums, which that proves that people wanted the systems, but you know what I mean. They were trying to keep up, but they couldn't. That's what it was. Especially severe, where allegations that it was cashing in checks months before machines were shipped. The QL was nowhere near as successful as Sinclair's early computers. This is a picture which will come up on your screen of the Sinclair QL. It's still collectible. People still collect them. They were pretty cutting edge of the day. They were unheard of marker drives. Well, not unheard of if you had a Sinclair and you had like a marker drive on your spectrums, but it was considered in them days. It was all sort of floppy disks and marker drives. That was a semi-new thing. It was like, I'd say it was ahead of its time. In autumn, Sinclair in the autumn, Sinclair was still publicly predicting it would be a million seller, with 250,000 sold by the end of the year. The QL production was suspended in February 1985, and the price was halved by the end of the year, which it wasn't really. It wasn't like successful. It's a pity though, because it was like I've seen one working, and they're really nice systems. Excuse me. The ZX Spectrum Plus, a repackaged ZX Spectrum with a QL-like keyboard, was launched in October 1984 and appeared on W.H. Smith's shelves. A day after release, retailers stocked the machine in large numbers in expectation of good Christmas sales. However, the machine did not sell in numbers expected, and because of retailers that still had unsold stock, Sinclair's income for orders dipped alarmingly in January. The Spectrum Plus had the same technical specifications as the original Spectrum. However, an enhanced model, the ZX Spectrum 128, was launched in Spain in September 1985 with a development funded by the Spanish distributor Investronica. However, the UK launch was delayed until January 1986 due to large unsold stocks of the previous models held by retailers.